Good evening, everybody. I have the honor and privilege of introducing my classmate, friend, fraternity brother, double doctor, Robert Drummond, who will be emceeing us this evening. I think Dr. Drummond, as far as introductions would go, would say that first of all, he's a child of God, husband to Shanique, father to RJ and Jayla. I think that he would want you to know that he is a proud son of Jacksonville, Florida, long-suffering Baltimore Ravens fan. He caught that bug while in medical school at Johns Hopkins. Prior to being at Johns Hopkins, he was one of the most well-renowned students here at Morehouse College. I had the opportunity to be Robert's classmate, be able to learn in his wake, and he would, I will give him the highlights because he deserves it. Dr. Drummond is the owner of the Crown Hair Institute in Beverly Hills, California on Rodeo Drive. He is an expert hair transplant surgeon with a strong background in hair science, having an MD and a PhD in cellular and molecular medicine. His superior understanding of the science involved in the hair loss down to the molecular and cellular levels allows him to craft the best possible treatment plans for all forms of hair loss and beautifully restore his patients' hair. He is committed to helping his patients regain their confidence through the art of restoration of their hair. Dr. Drummond's passion started at a young age that led him to Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, receiving a BS in biology. While at Morehouse, Dr. Drummond developed a passion for medical research, and in 2002, he graduated magna cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa from Morehouse College. He then entered medical scientist training program at the Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland. It was at Johns Hopkins that he received both his MD and PhD in cellular molecular medicine. After completing an internship and residency in internal medicine in Los Angeles, Dr. Drummond finalized his training with postdoctoral research and a fellowship at UCLA. Dr. Drummond's interests in training have led to a wide range of experiences. He's a former captain in the California National Guard, Army National Guard. He served as a battalion physician, served as a regional lead physician and director of labs for urgent care through Optum Medical Group. And he has learned and trained under international leaders for hair restoration in the hair restoration field and utilizes his past research in inflammation and immunology in his approach to hair restoration. But that's for the public to know. This is an evening for us, for Morehouse College. So I think I won't let Dr. Drummond come up to this stage without telling a personal story. It's a touching one. I think Dr. Cook and Dr. Haynes would remember. There were 3 people, class of 2002, that were, some people might call them gunners. Isaac Carey, Jason Panda, and Robert Drummond. And everybody in our class was like, man, these guys keep messing up the curve. So one evening, it's probably about 8 o'clock, I sneak into the biology conference room where Dr. Haynes used to keep all those old tests for us. And you were still there. I'll never forget. You were still there. You kind of would walk through. I don't know that you were checking to see who was in there, but you would walk through. And it was me, Drummond, and Jason Panda were in there. Jason Panda left. And Dr. Drummond, I think you might have had a prior engagement with a young lady. I don't know. But he had someplace else to be. But he asked me a question before he left. I think he said it in passing, expecting me to get the answer right. I got the answer wrong. And he stayed with me until I got it right. And when people ask me, the difference in Morehouse College or University of Texas or University of Maryland, University of Florida, other places like that, it's moments like that. Somebody who takes time out of their schedule, who sees something in you that maybe that you don't see in yourself, that makes an investment in time and effort to pull you up, to reach that hand back, okay? And he did that for me, and I'll never forget it. So he is my friend and brother for life. He has my utmost respect. And now we will get to the point of the evening that is fun. But I will bring to the stage Dr. Robert Drummond.
They like to do this. They take the microphone and they stick it all the way up because they know I can't reach it. All right. We're going to start this thing off right. If you can hear me, clap one time. If you can hear me, clap 2 times. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. All right, let's get this thing going. Okay. So, the other 2 guys that came up, they were very serious. Okay. I am not very serious. Okay. What we are going to do today is so many things that I want to get done. Before I get into everything that I want to do, I do want to just thank everybody for being here. Thank everyone for making it. I literally came out here for one day. I live in Los Angeles. I got here at 1:30 in the morning. I am here for this. I'm flying out again in the morning. That's how important it was for me to be here for Dr. Haynes and Dr. Cook. So thank you guys for being here, but absolutely. So one of the first things I want to do is basically introduce Dr. Eric Tate. He is going to talk to you all about the occasion and about why we're here. And then after that, when I come back, I'm going to get into the roast and toast rules and regulations, okay? I'm the only one that's allowed to break the rules and regulations, okay? But we will get into those. Then we will go through a number of other order of events, including the order of roast and toast, introduction of the honorees, and then closing. But first, please, Dr. Eric Tate.
Thank you, Dr. Drummond. I'm Dr. Eric Tate. I'm internal medicine physician in Houston, Texas, class of 1998. Was taught by these 2 illustrious men. I flew down as well for this occasion specifically. I would not miss it for the world because these 2 men were instrumental in me becoming a physician, but also becoming the man that I am. And I will circle back to that when we get to the roast portion of it, because I'm not funny, not necessarily naturally funny. So mine are going to be a little bit more about the impact that they had on me when it comes to that particular point in time. But as we're talking about the occasion, and so we thank you all for coming. I'm on the executive board of the Thomas J. Blocker Society. For those of you who do not know, Thomas J. Blocker, for many, 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 many years at Morehouse College, was head of the Office of Health Professions. He was responsible for, I don't know how many thousands of black men becoming medical students in this country. And to put a point on it, somewhere between 7 and 10% of all black men who went to medical school from the 80s through the early 2000s came out of Morehouse College. And most of us would look back to Thomas Blocker as the person who made that happen for us. And I'm sure on the dental side, that is the case as well. And so the time is very important right now for what's going on politically. So if we look at what's going on at the Supreme Court, if we look at the rollback that is happening from what our parents and our grandparents fought for in terms of us to be able to grace the hallowed halls of other types of institutions, that is being rolled back. And so we will have to redouble our efforts at institutions like Morehouse College to make sure that people who look like us, people who want to be treated by people who look like us, have those opportunities for that to happen. And so that is why the Thomas J. Blocker Society was formed, to support the Office of Health Professions in what it is that they do in getting students, and not just Morehouse students, AUC students, to their whatever stated profession that they want in the health professions. And so for those of you who may not realize it, and I'm not going to go through everything here, you can see on here, and we have another banner out front, the programs that as alums we have been supporting for over a decade out of our own pockets. And so we created the foundation, which is the Thomas J. Blocker Society, to be able to do that, so that the current Office of Health Professions with Ajit Samersing and his staff to continue to help the students move through. And so that's why we are here tonight. We are here to fet these legends of Morehouse, but we're also here to raise funds for the Thomas J. Blocker Society so that we can continue the work, to continue the legacy, not just of Thomas J. Blocker, but also of Dr. Cook, also of Dr. Haynes, because there is a generation that is moving on into retirement, into their golden years, into rest, hopefully. And there's a new generation that's coming up, like Mr. Red, Jeff Handy, and we have to take this mantle and go forward. And we all want to make sure that you know that you are loved and appreciated. And so in 20 years, 30 years time, there will be students who will do the same thing for you all as well. And so that is the occasion for why we are here. We want to honor those who came before us, those who help us become who we currently are, and to raise money for the students, because everything that flows through us goes right back to the students from that particular standpoint, so that we can continue to fill rooms like this 3 and 4 times over for the legacy that has been created to help our people and to help America. So with that, I'll bring Dr. Drummond back up, and we will have fun and get rid of the seriousness at this point. Thank you.
Time I come here, I'm gonna have to adjust this damn microphone. Heard somebody over there talking about Kevin Hart. I'm not Kevin Hart. We couldn't afford it. Okay, he costs too much. So y'all got me. All right. Now I was on TV though. If y'all watch Ratchet TV, y'all might have watched it. Married to Medicine, L.A. If not, y'all can stream it right now on Peacock. Y'all can have a few laughs at my expense. All right. So okay, now that's enough. We know. All right. So let's talk about the roast and toast rules, okay? Now, there was a very famous roast that just happened, all right, with Tom Brady. Y'all might have saw that on Netflix. We're not doing that shit tonight, okay? All right, listen. Let me tell you something, all right? We ain't talking about nobody's wife. We ain't talking about no girlfriends. We ain't talking about no mistresses, no exes. We ain't talking about no family members. We ain't talking about nobody's kids, okay? That kind of stuff. This is a different type of event, all right? There's black people here. You might get knocked out. So we don't do that, okay? That's not what we're doing here, okay? So let me start off and give y'all a little bit of an idea of kind of, some of the things that we can talk about, okay? I heard a story, and I heard my name. I never know what story they're going to tell. I got a couple of stories. I'm going to start off with my good friend over here, Dr. David Cook. I think the first time that I saw Dr. Cook, he actually came into the cell biology lecture hall. He came in there, and he was like, where's Robert Drummond? Y'all see, who's Robert Drummond? You, the little one? That's you? Robert Drummond? Okay, I heard what you said. I heard what you said to JK. Okay, you're gonna see me next year though. You're gonna see me next year. And see what he's talking about is, any Morehouse men in here that took Dr. JK Haynes' class, raise your hand real quick. Dr. JK Haynes had these questions. We called them JK type questions, all right? They were supposed to be K-type questions. They were JK-type questions. I don't know where he used to come up with some of this stuff. And so, in any case, after his first exam, I didn't do great on it. I'll be honest with you. But then I figured it out. Like he just mentioned, we were in the back room. I'm going over these old exams. I'm like, I got him figured out. You know what? JK Haynes, Dr. Haynes, I don't think you can make a test hard enough that I can't score 100 on. I think JK was like, who is this little idiot coming up to me talking? So that's what Dr. Cook had heard about. He coming in, oh boy, you talking noise to JK, you got to see me next year too. Okay. So that was my introduction to Dr. Cook. But it wouldn't be the last time that I would talk to Dr. Cook. No. I think the next thing that I heard about Dr. Cook, because I'm asking around about him, because I'm a little sophomore. This is like the first month, sophomore year. And one of the guys was like, yeah, man, let me tell you a story about Dr. Cook. Say, yeah, I was supposed to do this program with Dr. Cook. I was going to be one of his tutors for the EE Just program during the summer. Then I got this fellowship, and so I had to go and do the fellowship over at the Merck Institute. So I went in there to talk to Dr. Cook to just let him know, hey, I'm not going to be able to serve as your TA this summer. I got this fellowship, which should go very well, and I'm going to have to do that, and so I won't be able to be your TA for the summer. Say, Dr. Cook went and closed the door. You motherfucker. You think you're going to do this to me? Do you know who I am? Do you know what I can do to you? You going to do this to me? Get your ass out my office. It's a true story. We're not making up nothing today, okay? This is a true story. This is a true story. And so that individual goes down the hall. He goes into the office of the then department chair, Dr. J.K. Haynes. And Dr. Haynes, can I come in here and sit down and talk to you? He's like, yeah, sure. Come in here and sit down. It's like, all right. Just want to let you know, I just went down there. I was talking to Dr. Cook. I told him I wasn't going to be able to do something, a prior commitment. I had to cancel on him. And he cursed me out. I'm like, what do you think about that? He said, J.K. looked at him in his eyes and said, well, happens to the best of us. These are true stories. This stuff really happens. And so he got up and he walked out, and but that was my first understanding of, the dynamics between these two individuals. There was a wonderful, wonderful camaraderie that existed between them. I got so many Dr. Cook stories. There was a guy in our classroom. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to do that because this is recording. There's a guy in our classroom, and he's in there asking some questions. These random questions. Dr. Cook stopped the lecture. That's the problem. That's the problem. Y'all come in here asking these random esoteric questions, and you can't bust a grape on my test. Not nan grape. You over here talking about you want to go to medical school. You can't bust a grape on my test. You can't do physiology. Physiology is medicine. You ain't gonna never make it in medicine. Don't ask no more questions. That's a real thing. But we're not getting away from you, JK. We're not getting away from JK. So, I'm gonna tell you the history about that. I told you guys I didn't do great on JK's first test. But after that, I figured him out. I didn't make 100 on every test, but I never got lower than a 96 again. I was like, I'm going to get him. I never got that 100, but shoot for the stars, fall amongst the clouds. And that's what I did in his class. And so after that, went on, I think I did pretty decent throughout the department. Now it's time for me to apply to medical schools and MD PhD programs around the country. And I got some good letters of recommendation, okay? I mean, like I said, I had some real heavy hitters I was following behind. I had some good role models. And so, I had a letter of recommendation from the director of the Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. I had a letter of recommendation from the dean of Yale's graduate program. I have a letter of recommendation from, and I know you remember him, the late, great Adolphus Tolliver over the NIGMS. He was the national director for all MARC programs. So I've got some heavy hitter letters. I got a letter from my man, Dr. David Cook over here. Well, see, this is the thing. I worked in the OHP with Dean Blocker, so I got to read all my letters, okay? And so I'm going through and I'm reading these letters, and I'm looking at the director of Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. She's like, she's hitting me. I know I'm going to get into med school. And I see my letter from Dr. David Cook. He knocked it out the park. And I get to you. I'm thinking to myself, like, man, he know what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to go to Harvard, Hopkins, Yale, somewhere. I know he gonna kill it, man. Let me go ahead and see this letter that JK wrote for me. Let me see. The fuck? After a very average performance on my first test, starts off a letter of recommendation like that? Like, everybody got to know that JK, like, he takes his job seriously and he's gonna be honest. We don't want you to be that honest. But that's not even it. That's not the worst of it. let me talk my shit real quick. If I can talk my shit real quick, I'm gonna need y'all to say talk your shit. On 1, 2, 3, y'all tell me to talk my shit. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me talk my shit then. So listen, this is what happened, okay? This is another young man. This is a true story. Some of these guys know where this is going. And he comes to me and he's like, hey, Rob, can you let me look at my letter of recommendation from Dr. Haynes, because I'm applying to this summer research program and I want to read my letter. I said, I can't let you read the letter. He was like, well, can you read it? I was like, yeah, I'll take a look at it. I'll see what it looks like. It's probably going to be good. You did good in this class, right? I got a B+. Okay, that's not bad. He probably didn't write you a bad letter. Let me go ahead and take a look at this. Upon initial evaluation, one may think that this individual is academically slow. This shit really happened, y'all. Like, he really wrote that on somebody's letter of recommendation. And I know you know who I'm talking about, too. And I got permission from that person to share this. He's not here today. I'm not going to say his name. That person is a PhD right now doing very, very well with his life. But he wrote that shitty-ass letter of recommendation for him. Listen, let me tell y'all something, okay? Let me just give y'all one word of advice. At some point, some of y'all probably believe in God. And if you believe in God, you know that God is going to come back one day. And one day he's going to come back and he might say, hey, do you have 3 references of people that can say why you should go to heaven? Well, let me tell y'all, one of the things y'all do not want to do is ask J.K. Haynes to write your letter. Because if he do, you going to burn in hell. Guarantee you, you're not going to make it in. That's the tone that we want to have today for the roasts and toasts, okay? That's the roast version. All right. Now let me do the toast version. I told these guys I 100% had to come back and I had to be here and I had to at least tell some positive things. I got to medical school at Hopkins and I heard it was going to be crazy and it was going to be difficult. And the physiology class was so easy. I was teaching and tutoring all of these students from Harvard and Yale because Dr. Cook taught us at a graduate level. That's the way he taught physiology. Everybody that's in here that took that class knows that. And 100% he had such a huge impact on me and on everyone else. For me, I love talking. As you guys see, I'm a chatterbox. I've taken a lot of my oratorical skills and styles away from these guys. Let me talk a little bit about J.K. Haynes, because a lot of people refer to him as the quintessential professor. I came to Morehouse interested in becoming an MD. Dr. J.K. Haynes came to Morehouse interested in becoming an MD. He was interested in sickle cell. I was interested in sickle cell. He's the one that told me, hey, if you're really interested in making a difference, you should think about doing the MD PhD program. I had never heard of that before. I'm a country boy from Jacksonville, Florida. Never heard of an MD PhD program. Never heard of being a physician scientist. So he convinced me to go that route. And going that route is what led me to go to those conferences where I met Tolliver and applied to and became a Mark Fellow. And that's how I ended up going to the NIH. That's how I ended up going to Yale. And having all of these experiences, getting into MD PhD programs. My PhD was in cellular molecular medicine and with a focus on sepsis and septic shock. And I learned about this protein and how it was modulating the immune system during sepsis, right? Well, some odd years later, there's this worldwide pandemic. And in that pandemic, at the center of that pandemic is a new virus that is causing an uncontrollable inflammatory response. So I started off just trying to educate people. And just with me trying to educate people, I said, let me grab some classmates and talk about it. And so BET saw it and started doing some things for BET, and CBS saw it, did some videos for CBS. Both Pfizer and Moderna saw it. And so I'm on the advisory committee for Pfizer and Moderna right now. One of the things that Pfizer in particular loved was a video that I did. And so I had a lot of ways. I've talked to some of my family members over here, my extended family, who watched me during the pandemic and my different platforms that I have on social media. talk about the virus and talk about the vaccine. And one of the things that I did was basically go up to the whiteboard. And I went up to the whiteboard and I drew out the cell and I drew out exactly what's happening with the vaccine, with this new vaccine, this new nucleic acid vaccine that no one really understands, and how it is inducing immunity. And so, you know, the Gap Corporation reached out. I became a medical contributor for the Gap. Tavis Smiley, KBLA, reached out, so I'm like a resident physician for Tavis Smiley. All of these came from these teachings that I was doing for free. Wasn't charging anyone. I just knew that the government was doing a very poor job of explaining this. I had a very good grasp of this information, and I wanted to share that. And so I'm getting so many celebrities reaching out to me on my social media platform. Can we go live? Can we do this? But the one thing that meant the most, regardless of Pfizer and Moderna, I get a phone call, and that phone call is from J.K. Haynes. And he's like, you know, Dr. Drummond, I saw your video that you did, and good job. And so, you know, those videos 100% changed my life. I created a consulting company from all of the consulting gigs that I was getting and trying to manage all of this. But all of that stemmed from these guys and what they instilled and how they taught us in a way that I didn't fall asleep, that I wanted to learn. It was high yield information that kept me engaged. And I remember someone saying, no matter how well you know something, you need to be able to explain it to a rocket scientist, the president of a pharmaceutical organization, a college student, and a 10-year-old. If you don't know it at every one of those levels, you don't really know it. And you might have to do that in the same talk as you look at people and figure out how they're vibing with what you're saying, and you're gonna have to adjust it in the middle. If you can't do it that way, you don't know it. And so that is the way that Dr. Cook taught us, and that is the way that JK taught us. And I know for a fact that those teachings and the way that I incorporated it into teaching the world about COVID and about this vaccine, for every 50 people that got vaccinated, you saved one life. This virus had a 2% mortality rate. And so I have received thousands and thousands of messages on my social media. I had to hire a PR person, and they would go through all of this stuff. And I kept counting the number because I kept remembering every time I get to 50, I saved another life. And all of that really and truly was due to my college professor. So thank you too for that. All right, so now y'all got both levels, all right? Now that's the rules and regulations on how we're gonna do the roast and the toast, all right? That's the tone. So first, starting things off with the roast and toast, we're gonna go in order. The very first group, we call them Family Matters because they do. So family members, any family members of Dr. Cook or Dr. J.K. Haynes that would like to say a few words, we're gonna go ahead and start passing the microphone around. Don't be shy. I know y'all got something. All it takes is that first person that said, I've been waiting to get this shit off my chest for 20 years. I'm going to do it in front of all his colleagues and all his students. That's all we knew. Who's going to be the first person?